I think I guess I'll start by asking you, what did you expect when you went into grad school? You know, like this word expectation, because like we were talking before, how expectations means clearly you expected something, but something changed. So
Well, I guess when I first, you know, decided to come and was on my way, I was expecting, I think, like I said before, community. I was looking for a community of like-minded individuals, people I could talk about the ideas that I've been thinking about with. Um, really, yeah, someone to like push my ideas against or like, to spar with, kind of, I guess. That's what I was looking for.
yeah, I think I was looking for something similar to that, but I think for me it was because I never really had an art practice to begin with, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that for me, I wanted to use my MFA to explore the possibilities of being an artist. Like, I mean, I knew that I liked making things. Even the word artist itself, I feel a bit uncomfortable using because I mean, if I look at the things I do, I'm just like I write, I sometimes make videos,
Right.
sometimes do performances,
Yeah.
sometimes do a mixed bunch of stuff. But I find that this idea of like community to be very hard. I mean, we desire community, but it's not easy to find. Like you have people you click with and you bounce ideas off, but I don't know. Like it's very hard to find a group of people, even within a group of artists themselves, or a group of so-called like-minded people.
Right.
So
I agree. I mean, the community I encountered when I got here was so drastically different than I thought I would be getting. I mean, I have the school community, We have, my department is 15 people, and so we get to know each other really well. And we can, you know, talk about things, but I feel like, I also have the community of the where I live, the outside community, and I think that's also something that I wasn't really expecting as much when I came.
no, like at Concordia, our program, the sculpture department, is really small. Actually, it's 6 people each year. So there's a total between first and second year is about 12 people. So we all have a studio space within the same environment. So and we often have dinners at our profs' places, and but when I came to France, actually, there's no community because a university system is very different than the university system that I think that we're also used to. I don't know, being an MFA kind of thing, because where I mentioned in my last blog, where it's often the theory, the practice is merged together. But in France, university is free, so there's like this big this big separation between an art school and a university. And university is more theoretically based, and there are no tools. So they try to. I think that I be I have to be very bold to say that I think they excel quite a bit in theory, but they're really lacking in the department of practice. So there is no community whatsoever. I mean,
Wow.
people come in with bags of stuff, and then they put it on these walls that really need to be painted. Sadly to say, that's a very good condition wall, I must say. That's a very good wall. I mean, the walls that haven't been painted in, like, I would say about 5 years or something. So
Oh, wow.
in quite rough shape, and they come in with these bags and they just pin things up, and then they often don't even stay for I'm talking about a critique. They often don't even stay for other people's critiques. They
Oh, wow.
come and they just post things up and then they leave. So to build up a rapport with somebody, even though you see them week after week, there is no community.
Wow.
And so in some ways, it comes down to like the responsibility of your education, like how do you learn? So
Right.
it's
That's definitely, I think, one of the biggest things that I've noticed here is that you really do have to take responsibility for everything. You know, we have no classes, so we have, you're responsible for everything that you read. You're responsible for what you're interested in. No one's going to tell you, you know, like, oh, get in touch with this person, or you would like that person, or, it's really self-directed completely.
Do you think that because it's so self-directed that is anybody giving you that push, that challenge that you really need?
That's a really good question. Um, I, I think the push comes more from, my fellow students rather than from like an authority figure or any sort of, instructor or, I mean, we have a department head, but I feel like really my push is, you know, to just to be like a contributor, to like really, I don't know. In my last blog post, I talked about this huge group show that they put on for the graduate students at the end of the year, and everybody has their one contribution. And I think there's this push to like, make sure that your contribution is like awesome, so that the whole group looks great. And I think it's the same way, every day, day to day, that you're very self-motivated. You want to do the best that you can do so that the community is live and flourishing.
I like that idea that it's not that it's a collective thing because it is very different. Like there are some schools where it is so competitive. Like I personally try to stay out of this whole competition thing because I think it feeds into a negative aspect because the purpose of really an MFA is to sort of learn collectively, and and I think that it's sort of important to have that collective group. Like I think that one thing that I quite miss is having like interesting sort of discourse on philosophical ideas or even if it even comes down to that or just what did you have for lunch? Like,
Well,
like,
I mean, that's definitely something that happens all the time still, right? The, like, what did you have for lunch conversation
yeah,
or...
I know, but it's almost like but I mean at Concordia in Montreal, we used to have in the studio we had this core table. I mean, they were very strict about they're very strict about like not eating in your studio, but we broke the rules anyways. But a large part of our community was based around this table. It was sort of like it was a square table, but it became a sort of round table discussion where we shared ideas, where we went into each other's studio. We looked at each other's work and said, oh, maybe you can change this, maybe you can change that. Or we'd edit each other's papers. And I think that part of an MFA is that, yes, part of it is about networking. Part of it is about motivating yourself, but another part of it is about sharing what you learned with somebody else. Because I remember several years ago when I was doing my undergrad, a prof said to us, he said, your education, I mean, coming back to this idea of responsibility that you're talking about, has a lot to do with sort of you learning from your peers. And then that comes down to, is there any significance of your profs being there if we're learning so much from our peers?